Brother Rogers, I didn't know your first name, so I'm just going to call you Brother Rogers. This is, first of all, thank you for your note. It was very encouraging to me, and tell your dad that I really appreciate the fact that you two do what you do. Mr. Rogers was nice enough to write and say that basically his dad and he both listened to the YouTube video, and then they actually have a Zoom call to rediscuss it between the two of them. And then I also got an email from Shirley, and Shirley, you know who you are. And so Shirley's ultimate last question was, your perspective has opened my heart to a more specific focus, and I'm intent as I'm chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. How do I know that I'm chanting enough? Because she says, I'm constantly plagued with this sense that I'm not chanting enough. Mm-hmm. How do I know that I'm not that I'm chanting enough with the force and focus correctly applied? Thank you for your outstanding efforts to bring the Daishonin's teachings to our Sahe world, and we are in the Sahe world.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you must first understand is that aspect is really your Buddha nature calling out for you to keep it revealed, to sustain it, to protect it. When you need to really worry is not about when you're worrying, are you chanting enough? It's when you've already decided, I've chanted enough. Okay, if your constant fear is that you're not chanting enough, that you want to chant more, that you know that you should try to chant more, then there's no problem at all. It's when you think that, you have the wisdom to be able to say, I've chanted enough. Now the Gosho says, again, you'll feel inside what I'm basically saying. What I'm trying to say is that we should never have this sense that we don't have to chant abundant daimoku. There are times when abundant daimoku is the only way to get there. Okay? I mean, you guys all know me personally. You know all those, million daimoku charts that I filled out. Yeah, I was chanting over 5 hours a day. You've known me since I've been, I've done a few 15-hour in a day tosos. Okay, yes. So it's all kind of relative. I mean, so surely when you ask the question, I'm worried. Are there any times when you really, really, really chant assiduously a lot of daimoku? The most difficult thing about chanting daimoku consistently is that your life condition will never be the same 2 days in a row. Mm-hmm. I mean, the devils will be definitely, once they see you happy and skipping along and toward, expressing your 10th world, you're immediately going to hit something that's probably going to challenge your mood. Okay? So, from my perspective, as long as I'm advancing, I'm chanting enough daimoku. Now, so that's the question you said. How do you know if you're chanting enough daimoku? If you're advancing, then you're chanting enough daimoku. Enough daimoku to advance. Enough daimoku to keep your head above water. Enough daimoku to not go titan. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Okay? Because the truth of this is that, as Daisaku Ikeda said last week, what's the purpose of us chanting in the first place? It's to attain Buddhahood in our present form. Okay? You don't get there casually. Okay? And if you're not chanting a lot of, if you're not catching any obstacles, I mean, let's face it too, when we're on doing the right thing, the 3 obstacles and the 4 devils are called forth. We do definitely see a reaction on our environment that's a pushback. When we don't see any pushback from our environment for a very long time, and we're just happy that we've now finally got the life we always dreamed of, we're probably not chanting enough daimoku, and we're not taking our mission seriously. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because we've decided what our mission is. We haven't sought from the Gohonzon for it to be revealed through our karma. Okay? And that's really what we should be doing, because we're disciples of Nichiren, right? So we're trying to do his bidding as disciples of Nichiren. We're trying to spread the teaching to the people that we're supposed to. Okay? This is all a karmic web of reality that's so crazy and complex. I mean, I'm the only Caucasian sitting at this table. Now, how strange is that we would be all having these conversations that we've had for such a long time? I'm from a different part of the earth, okay? And had I not come to this part of the earth, I couldn't have had this conversation. We would have still never had this conversation. This is the only place we can have this conversation, okay? And because of that, it's shared with other people. So, as far as like, how do you know if you're chanting enough? As long as you're chanting enough because you haven't stopped chanting. But do understand that if you don't pick it up when it has to be picked up, and only you will know when that is. You'll know when you're bullshitting yourself and when you're telling yourself the truth. I haven't been chanting enough. You know, you have no idea what a predicament Shirley put me in by asking me that question. Because it's like, oh shit, Shirley, I'm in kind of the same situation right now. I'm a little worried I'm not chanting enough. Okay? All right? So this is fundamentally natural. I don't think that you can ever get to a point where you're so ambivalent to the reality of what it takes to attain Buddhahood in your present form that you'd ever be so unchallenged that you wouldn't have to have some contemplative prayer about this question. You know, you really need to take this up with the Gohonzon, and the Gohonzon will answer your question. Your life will answer your question. You don't have to ask me if you're chanting enough or how much should I chant. Because I don't know what your karma is. I know what I've done. I don't know what any of you've really done. We don't get into a big process of reporting it. So, you know, I can only express my experience. All right? So, after almost 50 years, I still have that feeling, Shirley. All the time. And then I, find myself chanting more. I have to. Okay? So, continuing on page 36. We're going to open by starting the key points from the last time we saw each other, week before last, chapter 4, and then we'll be reading chapter 5 today. Key points from page 36. The essence of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. The law contained in the practice of chanting spread by Nichiren is truly wondrous, but even the power of this wondrous law cannot fully manifest in a life clouded by ignorance, clouded by a lack of an understanding of the true nature of life, right? That's because the Gosho says, unless you grasp the true nature of your life, okay? So, it says, ignorance is the inner darkness that prevents us from believing in the mystic law and staying focused on our own Buddha nature and that of others. The practice of chanting enables us to break through this darkness and vibrantly bring forth our Buddhahood. Battling our fundamental darkness, this inner struggle, is the essence of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Battling our fundamental darkness, this inner struggle is the essence of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo from page 29. But what is he talking about there? Let me go back one sentence. The practice of chanting enables us to break through this darkness and vibrantly bring forth our Buddhahood. Okay? It doesn't come from knowing stuff. It doesn't come from going to activities. It comes from chanting Daimoku to the Gohonzon. Okay? He says, battling our fundamental darkness. Why would we be battling our fundamental darkness? Because we are at every moment. Okay? This inner struggle. Because if it's every moment, then it's obviously a struggle. Okay? It's the struggle between the 9 worlds and the 10th world. That's all it is. Okay? Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? Okay? Is the 10th world going to win? It's up to you. Going down that page on first column, page 36. The heart of Buddhism. If we seek enlightenment outside of us, we are not pursuing the path of observing one's mind, which is that communing, that mind to the entity of the law process that occurs while we're chanting. Okay? If we seek enlightenment outside of us, if we look at the Gohonzon as something that's going to fix things for us, okay, it's not us. We are not pursuing the path of observing one's mind, which enables us to overcome the fundamental evil of ignorance or darkness. What fundamental evil of ignorance or darkness is he referring to? The one that says that you're not a Buddha. The one that says that faith in the Gohonzon isn't important and it doesn't work anyhow. Okay? Do you understand? All the things that create obstacles. In that case, all of our efforts and good deeds to attain enlightenment will be lacking the vital ingredient. They will be every bit as futile as counting a neighbor's vast riches. Moreover, because none of those efforts will help us eradicate our ignorance, they will become only an endless, painful austerity. This battle against ignorance is the heart of Buddhism. And how do we win this battle? Through Daimoku, obviously. But what starts the Daimoku? Our faith. Our faith. Our faith. Our faith. Is always the answer to every one of these questions I ask. The driving force for our transformation, bottom of page 36, first column. If we chanted the Gohonzon but always blame other people or our environment for our circumstances, we are avoiding the challenge of tackling our inner darkness or ignorance, which is the wisdom to perceive the fact that we control all that, not people outside of us, or that we're subject to the environment as being the thing that determines whether we can go forward. He says, by doing so, we are seeking enlightenment outside of ourselves. Okay? Everybody's with me, right?
Yes.
By changing ourselves, by changing ourselves on a more profound level, that we can begin to improve our situation. By changing ourselves on a more profound level, that we can begin to improve our situation. Chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the driving force for that change. Top of page 36, second column. Confident and concrete prayer. The erroneous belief that Myoho Renge-kyo, the mystic law, exists outside of our lives has at its core an inability to believe that all people, ourselves and others, possess the Buddha nature. And this disbelief stems from fundamental darkness, which everybody has. It's part of the original state. In terms of attitude in faith, this tendency to skeptically regard the Buddha nature as a nice ideal, but one that doesn't really change reality, will manifest itself as a prayer that is vague and lacking in conviction. So what is he saying there? He's saying you really have to have faith that the teaching is correct. Okay? That you are on the path to Buddhahood. If our efforts in faith are half-hearted, we cannot change our attitude or fundamentally transform our lives. As Nichiren indicates in this writing when he says, you must summon up deep faith. If we hope to make our inherent Buddha nature the basis of our lives, or as Nichiren terms it, to attain Buddhahood in this lifetime, Buddhism in our present form, we must continue striving to deepen our faith, our conviction in chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Pardon me, let me say that again for the emphasis. You must summon up deep faith. If we hope to make our inherent Buddha nature the basis of our lives, or as Nichiren terms it, to attain Buddhahood in this lifetime, we must continue striving to deepen our faith, our conviction in chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. And as our faith deepens, it will manifest as confident and concrete prayer, which it will. That's why we're striving for it. Overcoming grumbling and complaining. Bottom last thing on page 36, second column. Grumbling and complaining are the principal gateways to ambiguous, elusive doubt and disbelief. If we know what it is, even if we know it is wrong, we may find ourselves grumbling and complaining in spite of ourselves. Should such behavior become habitual, it will act as a constant brake on our growth and cause us to forget about advancing and improving ourselves. We will then effectively close off our own potential, falling into the path of seeking the law outside of us. While it might be a real challenge to stop grumbling and complaining, we can derive from the mystic law the wisdom to control these tendencies and use them as a springboard for positive growth and development. That's from page 32, from chapter 4. Everybody's ready for chapter 5, page 37. Chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo with a brave and vigorous spirit, polishing our lives through daily challenge. What does that mean? What's that header mean to you? Chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo with a brave and vigorous spirit, which is saying what?
You have faith. Don't have fear.
Well, with a brave and vigorous spirit is correctly, with a correct faith. All right? Chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo with a brave and vigorous spirit, with correct faith, polishing our lives through daily challenge. So what does that say? That the daily challenge is for the purpose of becoming the Buddha. Okay? Understand that. It's not punishment. It's only occurring because you're advancing. That's why I gave the answer I did about what's enough daimoku. As long as you're continuing to advance, you're able to keep going. It's a day-to-day deal. It's a moment-to-moment deal. Okay? Chanting 35 hours a week. That was years ago I did that. I don't get the benefit of the 35-year-old that act. Okay, so it's a matter of sustaining and growing. Growing is really the big part, because as I said, as you continue to practice for decades, you're going to think you already know all this. Okay, and who's going to be telling you you do already know all this? Fundamental darkness, keeping you from growing, keeping you from advancing, keeping you from actually attaining Buddhahood.
Right.
Okay? So always understand that. The Vaima, oh God, I'm going to mispronounce this now that I really know that I always mispronounce everything that's Indian. I apologize to all my friends from India. Okay, I would always call this the Vimalakirti Sutra. It's really the Vimalakirti Sutra. Again, the pronunciation of the name isn't as important as understanding what its content is. Okay, the Vimalakirti Sutra states that when one seeks the Buddha's emancipation in the minds of ordinary beings, one finds that ordinary beings are the entities of enlightenment and that the sufferings of birth and death are nirvana. It also states that if the minds of living beings are impure, their land is also impure, but if their minds are pure, so is their land. And excuse me, I am reading from the Gosho itself. There are not two lands, pure or impure in themselves. The difference lies solely in the good or evil of our minds. It is the same with a Buddha and an ordinary being. When deluded, one is called an ordinary being. When enlightened, one is called a Buddha. This is similar to a tarnished mirror that will shine like a jewel when polished. A mind now clouded by the illusions of the innate darkness of life is like a tarnished mirror. But when polished, it is sure to become like a clear mirror, reflecting the essential nature of phenomena, Dharma nature, and the true aspect of reality. Arouse deep faith and diligently polish your mirror day and night. How should you polish it? Only by chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. And President Kate is going to go in and lecture on this, but I want to make a comment here. Do understand that when we talk about the clear mirror, all right, he's going to talk about the mirrors in the olden days were made of brass, which tarnished easily, which is why they had to polish it, and that was the only way you could get a clear reflective element to that, okay? And so when we could easily think that polishing the mirror is having chanted abundant daimoku, and that the mirror is now polished. See, the point is, that's the beautiful thing about this. The mirror never stays polished. Just like your 10th world. If you don't keep chanting daimoku to the Gohonzon with correct faith and advancing, as Daisaku Ikeda is laying it all out here, all right, you'll stop short of being able to actually get to that point. He says, so again, the mirror will begin to become cloudy if you're not advancing, okay? If you're not chanting enough daimoku to polish away the fundamental darkness that's trying to impact your advance as a Buddha, to hold you back in the 9 worlds so that you can't see the 10th in you. That's what I'm talking about, okay? So your daimoku has to change over the course of your life. Okay, there's no way you have the wisdom when you start chanting to keep that mirror polished all the time. Okay, you don't even respond to it more. This is an analogy. This is like this is happy talk. No, this is the truth. All right. So going into President Ikeda's lecture, remember that fact This is not about the position you have in the organization. This is not about how many years you've had Gohonzon. This isn't about whether you sit in front of that Gohonzon chanting a lot. It's how you chant and what is the purpose of that chanting and what do you know about who you really are and therefore what you really need to be doing and what you need to be focused on. Okay? Okay, so page 38. Those whose hearts shine with a commitment to truth and justice never lose hope, even amidst the greatest hardship or difficulty. That's a bodhisattva of the earth. That's what he was just talking about. That's who he's talking about. All right? Rather, they serve as a bright beacon, illuminating the darkness of people's suffering, imparting inspiration, assurance, and courage. When we change, the world changes. The key to all change is in our inner transformation. It's not the Gohonzon solving something. It's our inner Gohonzon becoming manifest. Okay, when we change, the world changes. The key to all change is our inner transformation, becoming the Buddha. A change in our hearts and minds. This is human revolution. What is human revolution? When we talk about it in the SGI, we're talking about the attainment of Buddhahood. The process. The process. Because it never happens like, okay? We do human revolution, which is this inner change and transformation. What's a transformation? Transformations don't happen like that. They're almost whittled into us through hardship, a lot of them, because we never accept the truth of the lesson that we're learning in daily life. Do you understand? Okay, so again, when we change, the world changes. Why? There's nothing in the world that's not connected to us. Nothing. All right? So there's nothing in the world that we can't affect through the power of our lives. Even if it seems that we can't. We can. When we change, the world changes. The key to all change is in our inner transformation, a change in our hearts and minds, accepting that we can become the Buddha, accepting that we are the Buddha. This is human revolution. We all have the power to change. When we realize this truth of life, we can bring forth that power anywhere, anytime, and in any situation. When we realize the Buddha and that we are without limit in terms of the power of our life, then we're not afraid to take on anything that requires change or power. Okay? He says, Nichiren Buddhism, based on the transformative principles of the Lotus Sutra, has made this great path of interchange available to all people with the chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo as its core practice. This time, I'll discuss the passage in which Nichiren Daishonin outlines the basic attitude and approach to our fundamental practice of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So listen carefully. Changing ourselves and changing the land. Okay, so what's that immediately saying? Viewing our lives as part of the macrocosm rather than just the microcosm of me. All right? Okay, so as I have already touched on at length, the entirety of Buddhism exists within our own lives. And the key to attaining Buddhahood, the ultimate transformation of our life state, also lies in a change of our hearts, or minds. All right. To convey this point, Nichiren Daishonin here summarizes a point from the Vaimalakirti Sutra. When one seeks the Buddha's emancipation in the minds of ordinary beings, one finds that ordinary beings are the entities of enlightenment, and that the sufferings of birth and death are nirvana. From page 1 through 4 of WND. Ordinary beings are the entities of enlightenment means that the wisdom for attaining Buddhahood, enlightenment, manifests in the lives of ordinary people steeped in earthly desires. So what did that just say? Let me say it again. Ordinary beings are the entities of enlightenment. First of all, that's the teaching. That's what you're supposed to grasp and say, that is a fact. Right? You're not supposed to question that. You're supposed to strive to understand that. And now he's going to tell you so that you can. Means that the wisdom for attaining Buddhahood manifests in the lives of ordinary people steeped in earthly desires. It means it's not about anything that's a disqualifier.
Right.
There's no disqualifier. All right. Similarly, the sufferings of birth and death are nirvana means that the Buddha life state of true peace and tranquility, nirvana manifests. Now he's used the word manifest twice. What does manifest mean then? I'm going to stopping here with my finger there so I don't get lost again, like I always do. What does manifest mean? What does inherently that make? Does that posit as the truth? Manifest means that it comes forth from you already. It didn't get added and then become visible. It's not an additive. This manifestation is that you've become this thing that was already, you already had the potentiality for it or you couldn't manifest it. That's my point. You can't manifest anything you don't already have the potential for. All right? It says, the sufferings of birth and death or nirvana means that the Buddha life state of true peace and tranquility, nirvana, manifests in the lives of ordinary people tormented by the sufferings of birth and death through their practice of faith over the course of their lifetime, thereby attaining Buddhahood in their present form. Do you understand? All right. So here Nichiren explains that Buddhas and ordinary people are not separated by an insurmountable divide, that the only thing setting them apart is the difference in the minds of ordinary beings. And what do we know from the orally transmitted teachings? And when one comes at last to the understanding that one is a Buddha, one is a Buddha. That's exactly what that's talking about. Nichiren also cites the passage from the Vimalakirti Sutra that explains the difference between pure and impure lands. This passage, which Nichiren summarizes as, if the minds of living beings are impure, their land is also impure, but if the minds are pure, so is their land, clarifies that there are not two separate lands. The only difference between pure and impure lands is the good or evil of our minds, which means our environment is completely reflective of us. That's what that just said. Did you get that from that? That's what that's saying. It's saying, he clarifies there are not two separate lands. Okay, so there's not a good one and a bad one. If I'm experiencing a good one, it's a reflection of me. If I'm experiencing a bad one, it's a reflection of me. Okay? The only difference between pure and impure land is the good or evil of our minds perceiving the truth. All right? Okay, he says, the view shown here is one in which the pure land does not exist in some otherworldly realm, but in the real world, and is achieved by people changing themselves inside. There's no heaven. We make heaven on earth in the Sahe world. That's what we're talking about right now. Okay? What's Sahe mean? Suffering. Right? Okay, so this is a dynamic and practical view of the Pure Land based on the idea of to purify Buddha lands expounded in the Lotus Sutra. The Vimalakirti Sutra, passage cited by Nichiren, is from the Inquiring About the Illness, or 5th chapter. The chapter describes the exchange between Vimalakirti, an outstanding Buddhist lay believer and practitioner of the Bodhisattva way who has fallen ill, and Manjushri. Okay, it's not with Shakyamuni, it's with Manjushri, one of Shakyamuni's leading disciples who is visiting him. All right. When asked the cause of his illness, Vimalakirti replies, because all living beings are sick, therefore I am sick. This is a well-known passage that succinctly reveals the fundamental Bodhisattva's spirit of taking on others' sufferings as one's own. Okay? You may not be receiving what you're receiving because you're being punished, just because you said, I'm brave enough and strong enough, I'm badass enough, give it to me so I can show them. Vimalakirti goes on to say that bodhisattvas choose to be born among living beings afflicted by delusion and to share in the suffering of birth and death in order to instruct and guide those living beings to enlightenment. So that sutra says that's why you experience this. Moreover, bodhisattvas are never overwhelmed or swayed by sufferings because they've established a pure state of enlightenment within. That's all from that sutra. Thus, the passages from the Vimalakirti Sutra cited by Nichiren clarify the meaning of Buddhahood and the Pure Land from the standpoint of a bodhisattva practitioner fighting amid the realities of daily life. So what does this just say? That the Daishonin has just used the Vimalakirti Sutra to clarify the meaning of Buddhahood, okay, and the objective of your life, which is this Pure Land, right? Okay, from the standpoint of you. You are a bodhisattva practitioner fighting amid the realities of daily life, right? So there's no separation between you and what he's just talked about here. All right? Nichiren therefore states in conclusion, when deluded, one is called an ordinary being, but when enlightened, one is called a Buddha. In other words, the difference between ordinary people and the Buddha is nothing more than the difference between delusion and enlightenment in ordinary people's minds. How then can we transform delusion into enlightenment? And what is that delusion? Is it not knowing the answer to everything? Is that delusion? What is this delusion that he's talking about? Strictly, it's one thing, because that's what it came down to in the orally transmitted teachings in chapter 16.6, right? So what's he talking about?
You don't know.
No belief and faith.
Right, how then can we transfer? Okay, the difference between, yes, is nothing more than the difference between delusion and enlightenment in ordinary people's minds. It's just expressing again, enlightenment is nothing more than understanding you are the Buddha exactly as you are. That's it. Okay? The definition stops there. Individual karma takes over. In the preceding passage, Nichiren explains at the bottom, page 39, first column, that when people's hearts change, when they believe in the teaching, the land or their external environment can also change. If they're able to bring forth Buddhahood, their surroundings will reflect that, right? That's what this just said, that the surroundings always reflect you, right? Okay. At its foundation is a transformation from delusion to enlightenment. It's the transformation from not being able to believe that you're the Buddha to absolutely knowing that you are the Buddha. That's the transformation. And it's a transformation. It takes time. You can read the same thing over and over again before it clicks and is going, shit, this is talking about me. All right? Continuing page 39, first column. As discussed earlier, what makes this transformation possible is the practice of chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Lots of it. And on a spiritual level, faith. Because I could also say that when I was chanting all those hours of Daimoku that I referred to earlier, I was facing some freaking serious challenges. And that's really why I was chanting that. Daimoku. Okay? So again, understand that it's all about faith. Simply put, through faith, we can overcome the ignorance or darkness that is the root of delusion and manifest the Buddhahood with which we are originally endowed. For me, that didn't happen until I started demanding that's all I give a shit about. All I want is Buddhahood. What is that? Where is that? Okay? And it occurred to me. Here, Nichiren uses, and then President Ikeda started writing a bunch of stuff that all said, yeah, Tom, that occurrence, that epiphany was correct. Here, Nichiren uses an analogy to describe this fundamental potential for change. Potential, because you got to do it or it doesn't happen. Saying, This is similar to a tarnished mirror that will shine like a jewel when polished. In this way, he conveys that the practice of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, the means for defeating our inner darkness, serves to polish our lives, which was polishing our lives through daily challenges. Why do we chant? Because we're overcoming daily challenges. That's what brings forth our Buddha nature. The challenges are our friend. In their absence, I guarantee you probably won't do shit. I didn't. I don't. Okay, I'm sorry I have to be nudged along like that, but it's the truth. Polishing our lives by going back to the Gohonzon. All living beings are inherently entities of the mystic law. We're already what we need to be, what we're aspiring to be. And inherently, the life state of Buddhahood enables us to tap the limitless power of the mystic law within us freely and without hindrance whenever and in whatever form it is needed. Okay, so we don't necessarily walk around in the 10th world all the time like we're peace, love people, like we live in an ashram or something. Nichiren likens this supreme state of life, which is 100% confidence in yourself and who you are. Nichiren likens this supreme state of life to a clear mirror that shines like a jewel. Yet even though we are an entity of the mystic law, we cannot bring forth the power of that law if our lives are shrouded in ignorance. In such a benighted state, we are like a tarnished mirror that will not reflect anything. Chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the practice for polishing the tarnished mirror of our lives. Because if we stop polishing, it tarnishes it again. Even if we got it clear as shit. You understand? All right, so page 39. The path for polishing our lives. He's going to list this 1, 2, 3. First, the path for polishing our lives. First, brave challenge. Because it takes courage to do this, right? Page 39, second column, at the bottom of the page. Nichiren Daishonin says with regard to chanting as a practice for polishing our lives, a mind now clouded by the illusions of the innate darkness of life, a mind that is now in the state of being a common mortal, is like a tarnished mirror. But when polished, it is sure to become like a clear mirror, reflecting the essential nature of phenomena, i.e. the Dharma nature, and the true aspect of reality, which is, again, that's the Buddha nature, right? He says, arouse deep faith and diligently polish your mirror day and night. How should you polish it? Only by chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So not by reading the Lotus Sutra, not by listening to other people, not by getting more opinions. Sit down in front of the Gohonzon and chant. The mirror simile here is a truly ingenious. The mirror being endowed with the property of reflection corresponds to our lives being endowed with the mystic truth. But if a mirror is not polished, it will naturally become clouded. Since mirrors in Nichiren's day were typically made of bronze, they would readily tarnish. A tarnished mirror could not fulfill its original function, so it had to be polished regularly. Similarly, if our lives are neglected and left uncultivated, they will be shrouded in ignorance. The act of polishing is indispensable for restoring the mirror's innate property, and that means daily, right? Moreover, just polishing a mirror once is not enough. We have to keep polishing it if we wish it to retain its reflective property. As this metaphor aptly attests, our practice of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is a struggle to polish our lives, thereby wiping away the dust of ignorance and heightening the brilliance of our enlightened Dharma nature. So based on our life condition, this is going to fluctuate a little bit. So am I chanting enough Daimoku? We're really the only ones that can answer that. And when we're asking ourselves that question, we're already in a great state because we've given ourselves the opportunity to say, no, I need to go chant Daimoku. All right? So, continuing. This practice of polishing our lives may be seen as having two aspects. One is to arouse deep faith, as Nichiren exhorts, This could be also articulated as summoning the fighting spirit to battle our inner darkness. The other aspect is to continue making steadfast efforts in accord with Nichiren's admonition that we should diligently polish our mirror day and night. What was the first one? One is to arouse deep faith, and the other one is what? To continue. Just to keep going. That's why I said, as long as your head's above the water, you can make it another day. All right? These 2 points echo the 2 aspects of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo identified by Nichikan, a 17th century restorer of Nichiren Buddhism, based on the phrase in the Expedient Means chapter of the Lotus Sutra, exert yourself bravely and vigorously. By the way, he's the 26th high priest of Nichiren Shoshu, so I don't mind saying that. All right? And a great guy. And a great guy. Just like Dengyo and Myolo. He helped clarify things. Nichikan explains that bravely and vigorously means specifically courageously bringing forth the power of faith or confidence in chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, while exert oneself means engaging sincerely and consistently in the practice of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Okay? So what did that just say? When is this really going to be key? When the challenges that you're facing don't automatically equate to Nam-myoho Renge-kyo and you're in a higher life condition. When you're sitting there chanting because you know you have to. That's what you need to do. And you're sincere in your desire to change your life condition and bring forth your Buddha nature. That's bravely and vigorously, right? He says, but at the same time, we've got to have this confidence that doing that is going to have a difference. It's going to make a difference, that it is the source of the solution. So let me just, now that I said that, say this one more time, because I've got stars all the way down this column. These 2 points echo the 2 aspects of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo identified by Nichikan. Okay, based on the phrase in the Expedient Means chapter of the Lotus Sutra, exert oneself bravely and vigorously. Nichikan explains that bravely and vigorously, yumyo, means courageously bringing forth the power of faith or confidence in chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, faith in the teaching that if I chant Daimoku, my life condition will elevate and I will find resolution to the obstacle or the challenge that I have. Means engaging sincerely and consistently in the practice of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Pardon me. Bringing forth the power of faith or confidence in chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo while exert oneself. Shojin means engaging sincerely and consistently in the practice of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. In chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, the first important thing is having the challenging spirit to act with courage. What does that mean?
Don't be afraid of.
Don't be afraid, period. You're chanting with the faith of I'm fixing this. I'm the Buddha, right? Mm-hmm. You're not chanting, I hope that the Gonzen can help me. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. All right, so he says, in chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, the first important thing is having the challenging spirit. Now, what's challenging? You're challenging the Gohonzon to show you actual proof, yet, and you're showing courage in doing so because you're chanting Daimoku, you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're following the teaching, but you have the conviction to keep chanting even when you haven't seen the result yet. Okay? That's the continuing part.
Faith.
Right? Okay, so this could be described as arousing deep faith from the innermost reaches of our lives, which is Mugi Washin, baby, doubt-free faith, in accord with Nichiren's words, firmly believing that we can summon forth the mystic truth within us manifest our inherent Buddhahood, and attain enlightenment in this lifetime without fail. Wow, no wonder I have so many goddamn stars here. What did that just say? It says, in chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, the first important thing is having the challenging spirit to act with courage, with the heart of a lion king, not the heart of a wimp, not the heart of somebody that doubts whether they can defeat what they're challenged by, somebody that's ready to kick its ass. All right? This could be described as arousing deep faith. What else gives you that attitude when you're so pressed? Nothing other than faith.
Right.
All right? Deep faith. He says arousing deep faith from the, I'm sorry, I'm going to start crying. From the innermost reaches of our lives. That only comes when we beseech the Gohonzon for it to appear. I can tell you that from experience.
Yeah.
That's the mercy of the law right there. All right. This could be described as arousing deep faith from the innermost reaches of our lives, in accord with Nichiren's words. In accord with Nichiren's words.
Yes.
You're doing exactly what's already been read here. All right? Firmly believing, meaning having firm faith in Nichiren's teaching, that we can summon forth the mystic truth within us, our inherent Buddha nature that already exists regardless of what we're going through. Manifest it, make it real, visible, and utilize its power. And that the attainment of a life in this lifetime, without fail, we will be able to express our Buddhahood in a manner that we can convey it to others. All right? It also means directly taking on the 3 obstacles and 4 devils that seek to obstruct us from chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Because if you don't think that's what's attacking me, then you don't know what's attacking me. Okay? And why am I attacked? Why am I always tired? Just because I want to read some shit?
So you're doing
I don't have the
something right.
energy to do that? No, it's devilish functions. Constantly attacking me. All right? So, it also means directly taking on the 3 obstacles and 4 devils that seek to obstruct us from chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. That's what's trying to keep me from sit down and fix this. We need to have a fearless, tireless, and unremitting, challenging spirit to confront and overcome the diverse array of obstacles that rise up to assail us. For it is precisely by challenging, battling, and defeating ignorance that we can polish our lives.
Yes, we can.
Okay?
Yes.
Probably, what an important point.
Yes.
Okay, 2, the path of polishing our lives, 2, continuing. All right? The first one was what? Brave challenge. Having the guts to even believe that we can do this.
Right.
Now we've gotten started and we've actually done it. But it's all conditional on us being able to sustain. So when we fall off the horse, do we get back on? That's really what this is talking about. Continuing doesn't mean flawlessly continuing.
Right.
It means never giving up.
Right.
Okay? Next, continuing is vital. It is absolutely essential. First column, page 41 at the bottom. It is absolutely essential for attaining Buddhahood in this lifetime. Yeah. Nichiren Daishonin says to accept is easy, to continue is difficult. The Buddhahood lies in continuing faith. That's from the difficulty of sustaining faith. On attaining Buddhahood in this lifetime, we see the paramount importance of continuing from Nichiren's repeated emphasis on the need to practice day and night and diligently. Maintaining an unflagging practice of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is a crucial requirement for attaining Buddhahood. What that's basically saying is you can't do it without it. Okay? It's a crucial.
Yes.
Without it, it doesn't occur. Nichiren writes, suffer, everybody knows this one, right? Suffer what there is to suffer, enjoy what there is to enjoy, regard both suffering and joy as facts of life, and continue chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo no matter what happens. How could this be anything other than the boundless joy of the law? President Ikeda continues then. We, who are endeavoring this, must continue chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo during times of both suffering and joy. So what's that say? If we practice this Buddhism, we will experience difficulties that bring suffering. We will also defeat those difficulties, and the reward will be the victory of having defeated them, which will bring great joy. All right? But it's not nothing but suffering, and there's not nothing but joy. He says, the emphasis here is on the word continue. So let me start the sentence over again. We must continue chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo during times of both suffering and joy. The emphasis here is on the word continue, and it is key that we do so throughout both suffering and joy. Because the devil can be either through adversity or through giving you so much benefit, you don't need to chant anymore. I'm definitely, obviously chanting enough. Look at how good things are going. Okay? That's not good. When confronted with suffering, we must not retreat. Okay? We must not question why it's occurring or what did we do wrong. And definitely we shouldn't chant less or be discouraged. We should chant more and overcome it. Stop it, right? So he says, when confronted with suffering, we must not retreat. We should suffer what there is to suffer. This is neither resignation or escapism. So do you understand what that's saying? What is it saying? What have you always understood? Suffer what there is to suffer, really. What does that mean?
Be able to turn poison into medicine.
Right. Don't question the path of your life as a bodhisattva of the earth. You created all the karma that you're experiencing, and you will be the Buddha in your present form. That's period. That's it. Suffer what there is to suffer. That means be of the same mind as Nichiren Daishonin.
Bring it on.
Bring it on.
Yes.
And never question why it's there.
Yes.
You know why it's there. Because you're doing your best to practice correctly, and it's already been promised that it will be there if you do that. All right? So he says, this is neither resignation, so this is neither accepting shit, because most people think suffer what there is to suffer means you just sit there and put up with the shit. You just keep chanting Daimoku, and nothing changes because you don't do anything to change it except chant Daimoku for this Gohanzon somehow. It's going to fix something for you. All right? So this is neither resignation. You're not accepting the suffering as like, I'm a stoic,
Right.
I've got so much faith, I'll just suck up all this shit.
No.
That's not the point. All right? We're talking about what is our mission and what are we already should be expecting is going to occur if we're attaining Buddhahood.
Right.
Nor escapism. We need to fix our gaze unflinchingly on reality.
Right.
Whew! And bravely challenge it based on chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. What did he just say there? Very, very key.
You change you.
We need to fix our gaze unflinchingly on reality and bravely challenge it.
Challenge the Gohanzon.
We can't be living in escapism or happy land or I've got all the confidence in the world that the Gohanzon will fix this for me.
No.
That's not real faith. That's incorrect faith. Do you understand? When I'm talking about the Gohanzon, I'm talking about the scroll as though it's outside your life, as this whole teaching has been being taught by President Keita to explain to us, no, it's never outside your life. You yourself are an entity of the mystic law, right? So we need to fix our gaze unflinchingly on reality means that we need to look at this seriously from the standpoint of not escapism, but as an opportunity to validate our Buddhahood. Not as something to get away from or escape from, something to defeat and show actual proof from. He said it is based on chanting Nam-myoho Renge. He says, and to do that is based on chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Nichiren is explaining that this is the correct attitude for practitioners of the mystic law. Faith in Nichiren Buddhism is constantly directed towards transforming reality. What did that just say? Huh? Say it louder. What is it? Listen. Faith in Nichiren Buddhism is constantly directed towards transforming reality. Faith in Nichiren Buddhism is constantly directed towards the fact that you're a bodhisattva of the earth, that you took the vow as an original disciple of the original teacher to prove through your life that his teaching is correct.
Right.
Okay? And for his teaching to be correct, it has to have the supernatural powers that it actually does possess. And the only way those get revealed is through you.
Yes.
Doing all the shit that I just read and becoming the Buddha in your present form.
Yes.
All right? So transforming reality, in reality, is going from being a common mortal
The Buddha.
to becoming the Buddha. He says, of course, such a state of life is not gained overnight. Of course, becoming the Buddha in your present form is not gained overnight. But if we steadfastly and diligently continue making efforts to polish ourselves day in and day out, month after month, year after year, we will naturally and surely come to attain it. I did. Took a long, long time. It can happen. Mirroring the words of the sutra passage, this cluster of unsurpassed jewels has come to us unsought. Mirroring that, because that's exactly what it is. You know? Next, enjoy what there is to enjoy can be taken to mean that when we're experiencing joy, we should remember to have gratitude and make even greater efforts to chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, aiming toward the ultimate goal of attaining Buddhahood in this lifetime. So when we're not being buffeted by so much difficulty, we should have the constant spirit to still be aspiring towards the revealing of our Buddha nature in our present form, right? And having great gratitude for that.
Right.
Deepening our seeking spirit in faith is much more difficult in good times than in bad. We all know that. Okay, life condition is everything. Because in good times it is easy, deepening our seeking spirit in faith is much more difficult. Deepening our seeking spirit in faith is much more difficult in good times than in bad. Because in good times it is easy to grow lax and self-satisfied, rather than being someone who is strong in adversity but weak when things are going well, which is chanting a lot of daimoku when you have problems and chanting barely at all when you don't. All right? Again, weak when things are going well. We should seek, in other words, you don't have that appreciation that he just encouraged you to have when you're not going through a difficult time. We should seek to construct the kind of invincible faith that allows us to regard both suffering and joyous facts of life. And what allows us to do that? Buddha wisdom. Buddha wisdom perceives the true nature of reality in each moment of reality. Okay? So, such strong faith is forged through our practice as Soka Gakkai members striving to achieve the lofty goal of Kosaruvu and our own enlightenment in this existence. Above all, chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, the process by which we diligently polish our mirror day and night, strengthens our lives in the same way that a magnificent sword is forged and tempered. The crux here lies in chanting with the spirit to challenge in times of suffering and chanting with appreciation in times of joy. There's the whole summation right there. The crux here lies in chanting with the spirit to challenge in times of suffering and chanting with appreciation in times of joy. Continuing to read on page 42, first column. Continuing is another way of saying not regressing. Okay? Which is what I was talking about when I said enough. What is enough? It's to continue. Throughout the passages of Nichiren's writings, we can see his emphasis on never regressing or backsliding in faith. To cite but a few passages, Nichiren writes, one who chants the Daimoku is thus come one's emissary. Also, one who perseveres through great persecution and embraces the sutra from beginning to end is thus come one's emissary. From the farther the source, the longer the stream. And strengthen your faith day by day and month after month. Should you slacken in your resolve even a bit, devils will take advantage from the Gosho on persecution befalling a sage. And carry through with your faith in the Lotus Sutra. You cannot strike fire from flint if you stop halfway. From earthly desires are enlightenment. Bottom page 42, first column. Without a battle to conquer ignorance or darkness, we cannot manifest the essential nature of phenomena or dharma nature. What did that just say? Without a battle to conquer ignorance or darkness, we cannot manifest the essential nature of phenomena or dharma nature. Without a battle, okay, without making the determination that we will persevere through no matter what, with a faith that we will never give up, all right, that's a battle. To conquer the ignorance or darkness, okay, to conquer the fundamental lack of understanding that we have. He says, we cannot manifest the essential nature of phenomena or dharma nature unless we battle that. Why? Without a battle. What's going to lead you? What's going to lead you? No,
Weakness.
A lack.
No
Yes.
challenge.
There's
Yes.
nothing. There's no challenge.
Right.
Nothing's. The challenge is your friend. The
Yeah.
obstacles are your friend. They're there for you to attain Buddhahood with.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the whole point. Without a battle to conquer ignorance or darkness, where's your actual proof?
Right.
Okay? Where's the proof of your faith? Right? We cannot manifest the essential nature of phenomena or dharma nature. And unless we continue to wage this battle through exerting ourselves in faith, we cannot construct an unshakable state of life that is one with the dharma nature, namely the life state of Buddhahood. We just kind of slip in, slip out, and go away for a long time. That's really not the manifestation. It's not active all the time. This is because if we slacken in our resolve even a bit, as Nichiren writes, we will become vulnerable to life's negative influences. We can lose that. We can go backwards. Also, when we exert ourselves in faith, the three obstacles and four devils invariably arise. It is by defeating them that we can establish the life state of Buddhahood. They're our friend. When we polish our lives on the most fundamental level through the practice of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, we can deepen, strengthen, and broaden ourselves spiritually without limit, but not without our friends, the three obstacles and four devils, because we have not manifested our Buddha nature at that point, if that's the case. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is a diligent practice. Nichiren Daishonin strove to share the supreme inner state Nichiren Daishonin strove to share the supreme inner state of attaining Buddhahood in this lifetime with all of his followers, and indeed all humankind. The true greatness of this practice of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is that it enables each person to actually manifest the same life state as the Buddha, as Nichiren, and lead an existence of unsurpassed depth and meaning. Nichiren, Shakyamuni, any Buddha. Buddha. This is clearly indicated in the following well-known passage from the record of the orally transmitted teachings. If in a single moment of life we exhaust the pains and trials, if in a single moment of life we exhaust the pains and trials of millions of kalpas, then instant after instant there will arise in us the three Buddha bodies, and we are with which we are essentially endowed. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is such a diligent practice. Ever since our second Soka Gakkai president, Josei Toda, explained this passage to me in my youth, I have made it my personal motto by which I have lived my life. In all my struggles, I have borne these words ever in mind. Okay, and what are those words saying? Let me read the words again. If in a single moment of life we exhaust the pains and trials of moments of kalpas, then instant after instant there will arise in us the three Buddha bodies with which we are eternally endowed. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is such a diligent practice. What is that saying? Anybody want to venture what that's saying? When the 10th world is revealed for the first time, it becomes manifest and proves that it exists so that it can be brought forth with greater regularity after that. Mm-hmm. The single moment of life he's talking about is always the single moment of life when we realize we are the Buddha. Okay? And that happens in a single moment of life. You can read it 50, 100 times. I did. And still think it's talking not about me. And then one time I read it and went, I understand everything completely differently now. Oh, I've had my head way up my ass. How could it be screaming this at me the way it's like seems like it's everywhere now I look. Okay? So he says, if in a single moment of life we exhaust the pains and trials of millions of kalpas, in other words, all of our previous existences that we only made it through world 9, we never got we never brought forth the 10th world. It had never been revealed that it existed before, and there was no means to achieve bringing it forth in the absence of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Okay? Then instant after instant, as soon as we have that moment of knowing we're the Buddha, and it's not like happy talk, it's really who we are. Okay? Then instant after instant, you are. Instant after instant, there will arise in us the three Buddha bodies. After that from that instant on, you are the Buddha, exactly as you are. Okay? Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is such a diligent practice because it can bring forth that kind of transformation. Ever since our second Soka Gakkai president, Josei Toda, explained this passage to me in my youth, I have made it my personal motto, by which I have lived in my life. I'm repeating myself. In all my struggles, I have borne these words ever in mind. So remember that, what I was just saying. Here he goes with his explanation, and that's the end. The emerging from the earth chapter of the Lotus Sutra describes countless bodhisattvas appearing from out of the ground. We've already read the Lotus Sutra, so you all know that, right? The emergence of the bodhisattvas of the earth. It explains that they have been dwelling in the empty space underneath the Sahe world and seeking the Buddha way with constant diligence. The above quote from the record of the orally transmitted teachings clarifies from the standpoint of Nichiren Buddhism the nature of their diligence or tireless exertion. All right? What's the nature of their tireless exertion? Their diligence. To bring forth their innate Buddhahood. To reveal it. What's the job of the Bodhisattvas of the earth? To validate that the teaching of Nichiren is correct.
Yeah.
And that through the teaching of Nichiren, everybody can attain Buddhahood.
Right.
Just like he had, just like I have.
Right.
Okay? So, the essence of Nichiren Buddhism is that those who exert themselves assiduously, which should be us, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we're being encouraged through all this shit to do, right? Mm-hmm. The essence of Nichiren Buddhism is that those who exert themselves assiduously to seek the Buddha way automatically manifest the life state of the Buddha eternally endowed with the three bodies. In other words, they bring forth their inherent Buddhahood. Do you get it? Yeah. What did that just say? The essence of Nichiren Buddhism is that Buddha is not some all-the-time separate reality that exists outside of the existence that we're in now. Okay? Again, the essence of Nichiren Buddhism is that those who exert themselves assiduously to seek the Buddha way automatically manifest. Right. Every one of you is a Buddha.
Right.
All right? We all manifest the life state of the Buddha eternally endowed with the three bodies, meaning that they've always been there, meaning that we've revealed the truth that we've always been Buddhas since time without beginning, since Kuan Ganjo. In other words, they bring forth their own inherent Buddhahood. That's what we've done. When we chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, he continues on page 43's first column, as if to concentrate, because he's getting now into this thing from the OTT, right? That President Toda it was the inspiration for President Toda, and President K is now saying it's my inspiration. He's saying, now he's going to qualify why it says what it says to him. When we chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, as if to concentrate in a single moment the arduous exertions of incalculable eons, exhausting the pains and trials of millions of kalpas, then the life state of the Buddha eternally endowed with the three body, namely our Buddhahood, appears within us instant after instant. When we beseech the Buddha that resides within us, it's already there. We're not beseeching a Buddha that's outside of us. We're beseeching the Buddha inside of us, right? That is us. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, he continues, is such a diligent practice, arousing deep faith and steadfastly continuing to chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo truly requires. So what's truly requires mean? Means no bullshit. You're going to have to do this if you're going to do it, if you're going to pull it off. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is a diligent practice. So what's diligent practice mean? Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is something that you have to do all the time, every day. Not all the time. Every day. Diligently to sustain it. All right? Arousing deep faith, which is the thing that makes you do that action, that effort. And steadfastly continuing to chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo truly requires constant and unflagging exertion. What did I just say then? You cannot possibly pull any of this shit off without deciding, I'm going for it. And being prepared of what's going to happen. Because what happens, a lot of people get to this shit hits the fan, and they're blown away. They're blown right off the horse. They don't even want to get back on the horse, because the horse, it hurts to fall off a horse. Okay? So you've got to be aware enough of what's going on as the truth that your delusion can't obscure it from you. All right? Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is a diligent practice. We must do it robustly, day after day, arousing deep faith and steadfastly continuing to chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo truly requires constant, which means without cease. Unflagging exertion means that regardless of how tired we are. Unflagging means your physical condition isn't a determinant. All right? Persevering. What does persevering mean? Going through the shit. That's to persevere is to take on adversity and not have it stop you. Yeah. That's persevering, right? Persevering single-mindedly. Yeah. What does that mean? What's that talking about? Faith. You are the Buddha. You believe Nichiren Daishonin's teaching. That's it. Single-mindedly and consistently in this practice will lead us to attain Buddhahood in this lifetime. I guarantee you it will.
Yes.
Through such efforts, our inherent Buddhahood, the Buddha eternally endowed with the three bodies, wells forth in the form of inexhaustible courage, which is what it took to get there, perseverance, which is what took to get there, joy, which is the reward for having gone through all that, wisdom, which manifests based on the compassion of having put up with all that shit in order to just help other people, okay? And compassion, because compassion and wisdom are always joined, right? All right, so the last column, page 43, and I'll finally be done with chapter 5. Praying for brave and vigorous youth to appear. Now, I really got off on seeing that he had this in here, okay? Because I don't really pray for brave and vigorous youth to appear, but I do now know that what I know, I'm saying for the sake of other people to know. Okay? Just as it was said to me for the sake of me to know. And if it was said to me for the sake of me to know, just so I could say it to the people that I know, again, this vigorous youth to appear thing is the key. I was a vigorous youth that appeared. That's why Mr. Matsuoka told me all that shit. That's why Mr. Osaki opened up and was totally candid with me in a way that's lasted almost 50 years so far. Okay? So, praying for brave and vigorous youth to appear. What does that mean? That means you actually give a shit about your vow. Because what is your vow? To achieve Kosen Rufu. Okay? Can you do that by yourself? Can any individual do that by themselves? No. Is any individual the same as Kosen Rufu? No. What it's basically saying, praying for brave and vigorous youth to appear to achieve the pacification of the land through the propagation of the law. Do you understand? We, as the Buddhas who have manifested and been able to get to this space where this kind of thought actually is part of our life, we must pray with the sincerity that Daisaku Ikeda does, that Josei Toda did, that Nichiren Daishonin did, that Kosen Rufu occurs, that it's not happy talk, that I may not be there, but I'm going to contribute to the base. I'm going to help people that are younger than me leapfrog the many years of suffering that I had to go through because I didn't have anybody to help me understand this.
Right.
Okay? So, praying for brave and vigorous youth to appear. It's important that we do that. Exerting oneself means doing so bravely and vigorously. Without courage and vigor, there is no true exertion. Oh, what did that just say?
Without courage.
I go to every meeting I can when I feel like it. Exerting oneself means doing so bravely and vigorously. He then qualifies, though, if you think bravely and vigorously is what you're doing, then you said without courage and vigor, there is no true exertion. There is no exertion. You said exerting yourself. But if you're not doing it with courage and vigor, it's not really exerting yourself. There are a lot of ways you can keep yourself busy, and you think that you're exerting yourself for Kosen Rufu, because somebody else said that. Okay? It's not for reals, because it's not being done with this mindset, which is Kosen Rufu. Okay? Not doing what everybody else is doing. Okay? Or trying to impress your leaders, or get a higher rank within the organization in terms of position.
No.
This is about you and Nichiren Daishonin and your vertical relationship as an original disciple. And I hope all of you have that. I certainly do. Exerting oneself means doing so bravely and vigorously. Without courage and vigor, there is no true exertion. So in other words, if it's not difficult, you're not really pulling it off. The first Soka Gakkai president, Tanesaburo Makaguchi, also led a life of brave and vigorous endeavor. He once said to young people, exert yourselves bravely and vigorously. Buddhism means taking action. It means constantly striving. Even at my age, that's what I'm doing. President Toda also remarked to youth, youth who wish for the happiness of humanity should first themselves seek the essence of this lofty philosophy of human revolution. Why? I'm not going to read it further. Youth who wish for the happiness of humanity, youth who wish for the goal of the Soka Gakkai and the Bodhisattvas of the earth should first themselves seek the essence of this lofty philosophy of human revolution. Why does he say that?
You should attain Buddhahood first. Yeah, and then if you have the Buddha mind, then you are going to do the shakubuku automatically.
If you don't exist as a living example, how can you really promise anybody else that they can do it too? Okay? So he's saying again, President Toda also remarked to youth who wished for the happiness of humanity should first seek themselves seek the essence of this lofty philosophy of human revolution. Okay? They should exert themselves bravely and vigorously to fight and triumph over all manifestations of the three powerful enemies and the three obstacles and four devils. He's saying basically, youth who wish for the happiness of humanity should attain Buddhahood as your primary objective. All right? He says, President Keita continues. Next to the third from the bottom. My sentiments are exactly the same. He says, I chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo ardently for brave and vigorous disciples, brave and vigorous youth to appear throughout the world. And those of us that aren't so young, we can master what needs to be mastered so that we can help others understand it that are younger, that can carry it on. He says, I am wholeheartedly chanting for this every day. Exerting oneself bravely and vigorously is truly the hallmark of the Soka Gakkai's mentor-disciple spirit. We all should have the mentor-disciple spirit, okay? Because we're all going to get old.
Yes.
All right? We're all going to be in a situation where we got to hope that what we've gained, we can pass on, okay? The practice of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the driving force for progress, the driving force for victory. Every challenge should begin with chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, and every time you should start chanting that Daimoku with the understanding, I am an entity of the mystic law. Okay, I myself am an entity of the mystic law. Every challenge should begin with chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. No one is a match for those with steadfast faith, for those who steadfastly chant. Diligently chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo morning and evening, let us thoroughly polish ourselves inside and construct lives in which we win victory after victory. And we'll continue going over the key points, page 45, next time, which will be in 2 weeks instead of 1 week, because it's a holiday here next weekend for those of you that aren't here around the table.
First Saturday of April.
Second.
What is it, May Day? No, that's
No,
not
I think
May
the
Day.
second.
First day.
Second week.
Oh,
of
second
the-
week of April.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, so it'll be the second week of April.
Yeah.
Check.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.